Yeah,
Did you have down street in the middle of town?
yeah, I just saw it, over on, not Street, so earlier, so,
No. Cause
Yeah.
I came down 32 and it was clear sailing.
yeah, so Duncan, it's like 7:04, do you wanna give it like another minute?
That works. Matt usually rides his bike and it's raining, so
Oh my God,
I'm not sure if he wants to come out in that.
yeah. That's okay, I know, I'm getting a lot of messages from people who had said yes on like Facebook, and then couldn't make it. Here.
Okay.
And it should be now transcribing for us. It'll be helpful.
This on Saturday.
And if at any point, I think it's like role Duncan for, that we used to do when all these meetings were totally just Zoom. Would be like everyone's gonna say anything like personal, just like say, like, hold up. And we'll like just put it on you,
Yeah.
since it's not sensitive info, but just like that, and then if we do open it up to case conversations, to just let me know, and we'll just mute that whole thing or cut out the video.
Okay.
If there's time at the end, but yeah, other than that, I'll let you take it away, thanks for letting us use the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council meeting time.
Yes, of course. This is the Landlord Tenant Relation Council, and tonight we are, I suppose, giving it to the HomeShare Ulster County community. Who's part of you two right there? Wonderful. Nice to meet you. I heard you say your name was Susan.
Susan Goldman.
And I'm Janice, Program Director.
Okay, my name is Duncan.
Duncan.
So, did you want me to read the thing that I typed up and sent to you?
Yeah, do that, and then, I'm just gonna say, I realize we need a whole new village hall. But if we can just make sure this thing picks up our voices, then I'll have on the cloud, like, our transcript, so we remember all this, and again, there was a lot of interest, from folks who, are in the room right now, so we'll figure it out, yeah.
Okay.
So take it away.
We're up a little, something now. Our Landlord Tenant Relation Council is an important part of our renting community here in New Paltz. In addition to people asking for information, we often get people reaching out in emergencies and unsure of what to do, and we give them direction and information of where to reach out to. It happened recently. We got a young woman reached out because her landlord was acting very predatory and making her feel unsafe in the apartment, which I wonder.
It's for you on that later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. I reached out and she said things are good for now, so that's good. And that's where most of our energy goes to, but we also have a handbook in the works that
I didn't finish it this weekend, sorry.
It's okay, you have a lot on your plate. Act as a quick rundown of tenants' rights in the state of New York and the village of New Paltz. The biggest challenge we face is membership. We exist in this strange limbo between advisory board and mediating body, and also having no legal powers to make demands of any municipal body or personal landlord. That's why we mostly act as an email-based information vendor. From here, I think the greatest thing we can do is to help ourselves to get new members and increase our advertising and marketing, for lack of better terms. We're happy to have you in our meeting today, and we hope the conversations we have will be helpful and productive for both our groups.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So do you want me to share the video?
I would start with the video because,
Because none of you have seen it.
right.
So maybe that has to be on? Oh, it's a great idea. Yes.
Yeah.
You,
I think we gotta check this out. Oh, no.
Sorry about that.
Goes to the machine.
Yeah, it goes in the machine, so we do not have to look at ourselves.
Good, great. Thank you.
That's been, you know, with having to chair meetings as mayor during this particular moment in the village with all these consolidation meetings, so a lot of extra meetings, and then I go home to watch them after the fact to look at what people said and all that, it's like way too much of me and myself.
Yes.
Oh, man, so yeah, we'll make sure, so we have a section on the village website for housing stuff. It's mostly all under, like, there's a couple sections, mostly under the landlord tenant council page, but I was gonna kind of start migrating a bunch of that over to just like a housing, one, you know, kind of back and forth, so we'll put that video up for sure.
So we-
Yeah,
It was a good video. I got the gist of the idea and everything. It seems like a very unique thing that you are putting on it. And it seems to me that it's people looking to rent a room and then sort of curated renters and landlord situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's the interesting thing about thinking about expanding to New Paltz. And the reason we asked Ivan to come was because I was with family would start in New Paltz.
Okay. That's
Family
different.
New Paltz.
Oh, I was gonna say that's different from family
No,
recall, but that's
it's
just family.
Family would, yeah.
Okay.
We're a program that family would start.
Yeah.
So we're all under the same umbrella agency. And this is what we're kind of curious about, you know, what's the appetite for the program, you know, who in the community or how many in the community would consider being a home provider?
Yeah.
How many would consider being a home share? I mean, home shares are less difficult to cultivate because of the housing crisis. But still, you know, not everybody wants to be a home share necessarily, who's out there looking for housing. And then also volunteers, you know, the bulk of this program, which is to say our match coordinators are the people who work directly with the applicants. They do their intake interview, they make introductions, they follow them through the life of the match. Those are all volunteers. And we find it's most successful when those volunteers come from the communities that we're serving. So, you know, we would be interested in seeing where the appetite was for volunteers to be part of that aspect of the program. You know, it's the, you know, it's the heart soul of the program. And you know, what we've done in the past, when we started, before we started in Woodstock and we served a 10-mile radius of the village. And then when we expanded to Kingston, we did a survey, a community survey to get a sense for some of that, to gauge the volunteer interest, the home provider, home seeker interest. And, you know, we might want to look at doing something like that here. But it could start certainly before all of that, because there's a lot of logistics to figure out. Just getting information out about the program, access to the video. They can also go to our website, the videos on that, past newsletters are on that, press articles are on that. So that people start to understand what the program is and how it functions. Because outside of one program with the senior foundation in the city, we are still the only home sharing program in the state of New York. So that was a challenge to us when we first started. We had to educate people about what home sharing was, what that concept was, and then specifically what this program is.
And that's still a challenge. That is still a big challenge.
Yeah.
It's getting people to understand it, not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. And one of the things that, you know, we want to know when we, you know, expand to a community is what's the demographic you think would be interested? You know, for example, we went to Kingston thinking it was going to be mostly seniors.
Mhm.
And we did a lot of outreach to the Office for the Aging, and senior picnics and things like that. Only to realize from our interactions that most of the seniors in Kingston live in senior housing.
Yeah.
They don't have room for people.
And they don't have room for
They don't need, and they don't need that.
Yeah,
So it really, we were talking about the program and people thought it was a good idea, but they weren't interested.
yeah.
Senior renters were interested.
Uh,
We do have seniors who rented their whole lives and their houses have been sold out or, taken over by the family or, and they are in their sixties to eighties looking for a place to live.
how has this been, in Kingston? Do you have, is it as successful in Kingston as it is in Woodstock?
We are still trying to find our audience in Kingston.
Sure.
We have had a handful of home providers that have come forward,
Mhm.
but for various reasons, they have dropped out. They just, I know, they might be in the middle of renovations or their property isn't ready yet. Sometimes they decide they want to find a tenant on their own.
Sometimes a family member moves in.
Yeah, or they move in with a family member, that sort of thing, so. And we have seekers who are looking for, for housing in Kingston. At this point, we go back to them and say, we don't have anything in Kingston just yet. Are you amenable to any of the other towns where we have home providers?
We have had some inquiry from New Paltz and we've had some inquiry from Rosendale.
Mhm.
I think somebody wrote to us from Gardner.
I've had
So,
a dozen home havers reach out to me
Yeah.
before sharing a flyer out. And then about a handful since, announcing that this session is gonna happen, all in the village.
So it seems there's
So that's
interest.
there, and we have the landlord tenant council, which is built into our code, as having to have 3 tenant, 3 landlord, 1 neutral party on it, so it's a committee that exists, and even if voters choose to consolidate the village and the town, this is a board that will carry over. It's like there's a commitment from the town to make sure it continues. Because I said I would chain myself, no. I'll need to order that. And so between landlord tenant relations council, and then we have our affordable housing board, which of course is tasked with a pretty big task, especially with all this new building going out, of placing people into the affordable units. But that said, it does mean we have a consistent body of 7 + 5, volunteers, and the constant call for volunteers in this realm, and people who have volunteered in the past who might be interested. I was already thinking of some folks from 10 years ago to give a call and be like, there's a new housing related project. You wanna come on through,
Coming down the pipe, yeah.
And that's really the success of how we've grown
Yeah.
is the people who are involved in the project know people.
Yeah.
And you bring them in
Yeah.
personally, and then those people know people.
Mhm.
And the word begins to spread and somebody, oh, you can come to my church and you can come to the library this day and I'll tell all my friends. And well, all of those things, because it's new.
Yeah.
It means that, it means the personal invitations, that you have people who've inquired already.
Yeah.
Yes, I want the list, we'll call them. Say, would you
Yeah.
like to hear more about the program?
Yeah.
Would you like, all of those things, just to get started.
Mhm.
But, and volunteers, that's golden.
Yeah, the volunteers are built in, the interest is definitely there. I think, a couple of the housing providers and a couple of home seekers who've reached out in particular were like, where's next steps, where I put my name to be looped in, and I was like, well, next steps is this info sesh, and then we'll take it from there. You know.
Something that we've talked about as we thought about the idea of expanding into New Paltz is to use, our existing team and have potential volunteers who would be in the New Paltz area sort of train with us, so that they get a sense for
Of course.
doing what doing the work looked like.
You have experience doing the vetting and seeing what.
Yeah,
suits
yeah,
you.
just seeing how the process works,
Yeah.
Come to our meetings to get,
Yeah.
just get there, which is how we bring volunteers on.
yeah,
That would be great, you know, so there's a group, the Monday night, we call Mutual Aid and Defense Network, that meets at Snugs. Patty's group,
Okay.
so there's this whole activist group, and they're really building traction, and they were all interested, but just to close up the food share, and it's a rainy day, and like, everyone literally is like helping each other out, so. That's a big group, and a couple folks from that group were kind of saying, but all this is new, just everything, like advocacy, community engagement, everything's new. How will I learn? I'm like, that's a good question. So that answers that.
that would be great. I mean, one, we could also use the help with the volunteers, but it would serve as a training.
Yeah,
You know, they would have, they would have some travel, right? Because they'd be dealing with our service area, which is Kingston and Woodstock and Saugerties and, yeah,
Mhm.
you know,
and that is always kind of an issue. Not gonna lie, in Paltz, we, like the village, we're still
Like,
a not car.
there's quite a few people that don't have vehicles, like my, one of the members of the group here, he has a bicycle. And that's where he goes everywhere. He got a job in Kingston and takes the bus there. 'Cause he can't-
Yeah, I share a taped car with my partner, you know, like.
yeah, yeah.
And, you know, we try to work, just as every match is unique, we try to work with our volunteers, we do have Zoom meetings in the winter. So that is certainly possible, and if we had a group of people in New Paltz, we would figure out how to do the shadowing and
Yeah,
it's just when we interview seekers, we do it at the office. If they're, you know, Kingston, Woodstock, Saugerties, we do it at the office, either in Woodstock or in Kingston. When we are moving to this area, if we open for applicants, we would hopefully be doing it at Family Defaults.
Yeah,
Or other spaces in the town that, you know, if something wasn't available. But for the team to meet, it would initially, we need to meet with the existing team, and that's, we do some sort of training there. And we bring up issues there, but they also, in the very beginning, see how the conversations go. They shadow us as we do an intake, I have somebody shadow me tomorrow on an intake, a new volunteer from Woodstock, who's coming to Kingston to shadow me there. So it's a process we've used now for 5 years, and we're comfortable with it. At the same time, it's adaptable.
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I feel like all the pieces match up pretty well. I can make a spreadsheet basically of all the interested folks, their contact info, and label, you know, their housing provider, housing seeker, or volunteer.
Yeah.
You know, so that could be one of my next steps. And we can put a sign up on the website or something.
I mean, we've done these surveys before we started in Woodstock and in Kingston. And there's just general interest surveys, a few questions. They don't give us a lot, but if you had different demographic groups that we could survey
Yeah,
somehow, either online or
so we've already done a number of surveys,
Yeah.
so since I've been elected in 2019, I put a couple surveys out just on housing, and have enough data, I would say, just not like contact info, because we have a more transient community, and especially since the housing market has become what it has been, you know, 2021 onward, it's been a complete, like, total changeover, so it wouldn't be the same people, but, you know, we've collected data on, like, you know, rent burden, what kind of housing situations would you be interested in, you know, like living with a roommate, living in a house share, living in a multi-generational house share, stuff like that, so, I would say it tends to be tough putting out the surveys because there's no way to reach most people. 80% of the village rent our homes and we don't receive the same mail that our landlords do. You know, I've never seen a water bill and I'm the mayor. You know, and now on top of all that, the postal service cuts and changes to how they program stuff. We had a couple landlords even today who were like, I paid my bill, like I sent it in, like where to go? We haven't gotten it. You know, people are, you know, homeowners, landlords are dealing with like late fees simply because the mail system is messed up. So just, I like a good survey. We've done a lot. But I feel like at this point, we already have had interest of, you know, one whole board of trustees, there was no movement, you know, to really just do the out, just be like, hey, come here, you know? Now it's a whole new board, you know, you have buy-in from the mayor, you're buying from 2 legislative boards consisting of 11 people. I would like to just not do the survey and just do are you interested in this program, just to collect the contact info and which category people are in, and just kind of leave it at that and like get into gear.
Is there a platform that, or multiple platforms that most people get their information, so that if we want,
No, I would say as of now, word of mouth is most impactful. Like Instagram gets one whole demographic. The letters, the editor section has Napa Valley one gets a totally different one.
Yeah.
We're dealing with this, it's really unique. Because again, 80% of the village does not, like, we don't have access to the same mail that like, you know, people in town outside village do. Like, we just don't get the same notifications, there's no way for anyone to find us.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why with the next version of our landlord tenant council handbook that I was working on this weekend, just trying to tighten it up and have some more visuals, make it really pretty. I'm planning on knocking on all the tenant doors and just handing it to them, because there's no other way to get it to them. So in that, which would be the final week of October, beginning of September, is when I would do that knocking myself. And that we could have a flyer with a QR code. That would probably be the one shot to get to people for that whole next cycle, you know?
Do you see the student body that's here at the college as being, part of the demographic that would be interested in the program? Is that a whole separate thing?
Definitely some of it, you know, and the student demographic has also changed a lot, even just in the past 5 years. People are taking a lot longer to go to school and just, will become like more embedded in the community than maybe like when I was an undergrad 20 years ago. You know, and that's where just if you live off campus, you live off campus, you're a tenant, and you know. Yeah, and it's interesting because with a lot of these consolidation meetings and the age old, and I remember from back in the day, but tenants, they're students. You're letting them vote. It's like, well, we don't know, you know, I haven't been a student in a long time. If you want to send me back for a PhD, by all means. You know, but like, it really has changed where it's like, again, we've gone up, from 70% to 80% of the population rent our homes in the village alone. And when you look at like, in the census data, like it's kind of just evened out a little bit more. It's not all just 24 and under, and then senior citizens, it's like, you know, everyone. So the student population definitely a part of any combo, but yeah, it is what it is. And there is more housing, I would say, that is just more comfortable for the student population right now. You know, like I'm constantly I'm looking for that one case, you know, and then there's so many other people, I'm like, so now I'm like looking not for me, and I'm sure landlords are like, yeah, right. But I'm really looking for everybody, and it's like to be a roommate in a house of a bunch of other undergrads, that doesn't work for a lot of us.
Right.
So there's a lot less options, I would say, for people who are just not in that, you know, younger undergraduate, traditional college
Yeah,
demographic. And so something like this, I think, would be really pique the interest of,
that's more of the demographic that I think, I mean, we don't place multiple roommates, it's like a
Yeah.
nightmare. You know, we'll mediate between a landlord and, you know, our home provider and our seeker as they're in a match and things change, we mediate, we smooth things out. But the thought of doing that with multiple roommates, that's just
Yeah.
more than we could, but there's enough, the living population that is your town, that is your village, is your town, and finding the homes, that are probably outside the village, I would think. If most of the village housing is student housing, and other people wanna live just outside of that, and there are homes, or parts of homes, or cottages, or apartments above the garage, those kinds of things, that's where I think our sweet spot is.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, so town outside village, I would have to say, like, okay, someone reached out to my Facebook the other night, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. We still have a whole population of snowbirds, right in the community, and who would love, you know, to like, and who have now expressed that they would love to do some sort of home share thing, and it would be, you know, the housing seekers, you know, space for a few months out of the year here and there too, which is,
So that falls outside,
Yeah, we.
that falls outside of what we do a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're not
People that go away from the winter.
Yeah,
yeah,
so we're not short-term rentals, largely because, you know, it takes a few weeks to go through the vetting process.
yeah.
We're matching people based on compatibility of interests and needs, their lifestyle, and that can take a while, because no
Oh,
matches.
definitely wasn't thinking short term either, you know,
Okay,
people
yeah.
who would want a roommate
And
that's
then
that's
they leave
there.
when they're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
oh, yeah, that's
It's
fine.
actually a whole different, you know,
Yes.
situation, and like, you know, thinking about my mom on Long Island, that would be brilliant, you know, she had someone that was there when she's not there, and who she knows and is her roommate, that she has a relationship with, it would be so different than some random tenant in my grandma's old apartment in back, right?
Yeah.
That she doesn't know, we don't know, and she's not there half the time, right?
I mean, that kind of thing is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that would actually, like, that is a whole demographic here that has not been reached out to, and that really seems to put a lot of pressure on those households, especially when, you know, partner passes away, and like, what do I do? I'm only able to be in New Paltz, you know, in the warmer months, and then I'm all alone, you know, what am I gonna do? We could keep those folks here.
Yeah, we just have to be able to reach them with
Yeah.
through their, whatever they do.
Yeah,
We go and we talk to people and we table at events, and so, you know, we need you to tell us pretty much starting out where we should be when we're ready to begin to do this.
Well, when we're ready to begin, any information you can give us, we'll put it out in the front. We're gonna get a lot of walk-ins.
Yeah. We'll
But
get
our outreach is so important, and,
Right.
you know, we talk to libraries, we have informational sessions at libraries, we speak to faith organizations, we do tabling events at farmers market, and this is continual. I mean,
yeah,
this does not, it's not a one shot and then you're done, it's a
There's
continual
a
effort.
lot of community events here in New Paltz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
we'll have 50 people here tomorrow night, I could fill up 2 sheets of interested home providers.
Wow.
If you wanna give me that challenge, I could do it.
Wow.
Great, and you know, we will begin to check it out and see how, you know, what they're thinking and how serious they are and what their reservations are and that kind of thing, and we'll bring some material down. We're gonna go to the county to try to get some funding, because we will need another person
Yeah.
a person to do what I do, which I volunteer for, so we need someone in my position, because Janice is a part-time paid person, she's the only one we have.
Yeah.
And we need somebody who's willing to work as much as I work, to supervise the volunteers who are working and coordinate all of that. Janice does all the other stuff. And so we're gonna ask the county, because we are expanding, to help underwrite that. And then we would have.
But that would also be helpful to say, look, we're starting the conversations and this is the kind of interest we have.
Yes,
You know, and commitment, particularly on the part of home providers.
yeah,
And I just saw the
Commit-
county
yeah,
execs before the
yes.
postal service thing, I was like, I gotta go, we're having a home share info meeting.
She likes us.
Yeah. So we can keep tuning that horn. I would love to see one of the past surveys and stuff and see how we can kind of combine that into just, capturing basic contact info and whatnot. And, I'll make an announcement tomorrow night because these consolidation meetings are bringing a lot of people out and I keep realizing, oh, it's a good chance to be like, by the way, here's a bunch of info,
Yeah.
And we found out in Woodstock very quickly that there was no point in serving Woodstock.
Yeah,
We could try to get home providers because people wanted to live in Woodstock, they work there, they had
Yeah.
transportation, whatever. But our seekers were coming from all kinds of places, and if they could be 10 miles from work, it's better than commuting from Poughkeepsie,
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
quickly and we have matches in, out in Benicia and Olive Bridge and in Saugerties, as well as in Woodstock and at the outer reaches in Bearsville and Willow and, Mount Trevor, yeah, so we cover pretty much family's catchment area there.
nice.
And then we would do the same thing if we came down here, whatever, you said, everybody comes in from Gardner and Rosendale and everybody, yeah, so that would be our catchment area here.
Yeah, and that, I was gonna say, I would like it to be not just, we can call the village our home base, but like just this whole area, like 20 years ago, I just remember seeing so many of my professors living in homes right here where I would be annoying and loud outside of it or next door to it, right? And I really miss those days and the way the market has gone, like those families and folks have like kind of moved outwards a bit. So I just kind of see, whenever I see my friends who are legislators in the whole Southern Ulster contingency, I'm like, you're kind of New Paltz extension.
Yeah.
It's adjacent.
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah, see, that's pretty swanky, yeah, so like, there's a lot of New Paltz people who live in Clintondale.
Yeah.
But there's still New Paltz people,
Yeah.
right? And there's New Paltz people who live in Esopus, they're New Paltzians, it's fine, yeah.
That's how they identify.
Yeah.
So if you would be willing to share what that demographic data that you described, that you've got, that you collected, that would be helpful.
Mhm.
And then as you get a compilation of names and contact information for people who are interested, we'll just begin that exploration.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we'll talk to Ivan about what kind of help the office can give us
Mhm.
to support that, and we'll start looking for opportunities to speak. It kind
Yeah.
of slows down a little late fall and in the winter, and it's a great time to do outreach,
I love that.
indoors, if it doesn't snow.
yeah, and this would be such a good excuse to do, I've always like wanted a job fair, this one I was gonna pin you up about Ivan, but just like, we've got this space right here, this old fire garage space, and people now know it because of some super volunteers who will weekly meals, got a free food fridge right over there, people have started to really understand and treat this 25 Pattico address as like home base if you need something, like, you'll come here.
Great.
So why don't we do a job fair? And another thing was gonna be like a volunteers needed fair, just different things, because it's a good space and people already know it exists and they come here on Tuesdays to get food and
Right.
produce and stuff.
And we could also do an informational session here.
Yeah,
You know, for them to attract those people specifically interested in the program, if there is a sort of critical mass of them. that
and if we
can
could do that,
Yeah,
very beginning of September would be the best time.
okay.
You know, because that's when just townies come back and buckle down. This year's been weird, you know, because usually I get like 100 swims in every summer, but it's been.
My husband says the same thing.
Yeah,
What kind of summer is this? I haven't been swimming.
yeah, I'm like, I haven't been swimming enough. But, that said, I still want to respect the spirit of that and not expect people to come out to an info meeting until we're done.
Right. Give them their summer.
Yeah, you know, that's when more people involved in campus community come around, and we will have had a town gown session for the academic year already. Like, I think the first one will be in August, so that's a good space. And then if we have the date set before the next fourth Friday, Water Street Market, then you and Teresa, not to sign Teresa up for something, but she'll be so down, because she was there tabling last Friday for the Democratic women. We could have a table and we could hit, like, half the town was there. It was awesome.
Great, that's great.
So we kind of get all these things together. I think that'd be great. Plan an info sesh for early September, and start pushing that date once we set it. Yeah, I think that's all really sounds awesome.
We hope your enthusiasm is catching.
Thanks. And you know, like, not to like make promises, but because I don't know the future of the village right now, it really is gonna be in the hands of voters. But, you know, should we continue, I've already put into like all staff's heads and, you know, my own head. If the village doesn't dissolve, then on November 4th, we're gonna sit down with a plan for, you know, rearranging the budget and, you know, perhaps our budget for the Affordable Housing Board secretary, you know, if she were interested in putting more hours in, you know, could also be towards this project too.
Okay.
You know,
It's a good thing.
so the timing of that, I think, would be pretty nice. It would be until the next year's budget, but, you know,
Well, this is a slow burn.
Yeah.
This process.
Yeah.
It's really built, because in order to make good matches, you have to have enough providers and enough seekers that you can make matches.
Yeah.
You know, the person who has 3 cats doesn't want the person with 2 dogs. You know, it just doesn't work that way. And so you have to have.
So the
you
board
gotta have
has
critical
more,
mass.
yeah.
You gotta have critical mass.
what if we did, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen, the group for the many has done some, speed friend dating
Oh.
events. What if
People have mentioned this sort of like
Like-
speed dating.
you know, a housing, you know,
Yeah.
partnership event, but you know, kind of the same model, and, you know, everyone has to go around the room and be like, I'm a housing haver, like.
Well, if
So the thing about our program that people really respect and like is the time we take to carefully vet.
Yeah,
The fact that we have what we call a high touch approach. So you have a match coordinator who's going to be assigned to you and they'll be with you all the way through.
Yeah.
You're in communication with them, you're always keeping abreast of any changes that may have happened with their circumstances. It's not a traditional rental program, it's like, you're at the top of the list now, so your next step doesn't work like that. It's much more personal in that sense, you know?
yeah,
And so it does take time.
And the providers like that because they're not the kind of people in general, we found, who wanna come out and to meet a lot of, you know, they don't trust their own instincts largely. They want us to bring them people that we feel confident in, and that really helps.
And some people are very private about it.
Yes.
yeah,
You know, we ask for testimonials, you know, we get to ask HomeShares to be in the video. Some people are content just to have their HomeShare and they don't really, they don't want their name out there, they're happy to give a testimonial, but you can just use the town that we're in, that kind of thing. You have to be respectful of that,
yeah,
so. Cool.
Yeah, and now my brain's just going too, there's so many ways, but, my plan to knock on every rental door in the first few weeks of September, that zine is such a good way to get stuff in people's hands to then get out, because then it gets out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you could put a section
I
on
was just thinking that.
the agenda.
We can do a reprint of them, because that rack card has the QR code in it,
Yeah,
which brings them to the website, and then.
One
the
side
website
is provider, one side is seeker, it's all there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, something like this would be great. Cool.
We're gonna do a second printing, so.
Yeah.
And we have another page that we didn't have with us today, which is frequently asked questions, which is another two-sided,
I'll send you a bunch of that I made in the board section.
Yeah, so that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think, once we have one kind of thing to push out,
Yeah,
I can definitely work that.
yeah.
I think this just would really make sense for this moment, whereas like there might not have been the same kind of energy, like even just a few years ago, but people are seeing just like I haven't been able to solve the housing crisis, even having like 3 tenants on a village board of 5 now, that's not the issue. The issue, there's so many other parts to the issue. We have to work with what we've got, and this is what we've got, and a good way to build community.
Very good way to build
that's-
community. Yeah, and this is, again, it's not for everyone, it's not a one size fits all. But it is a more immediate solution to the
Yeah.
housing crisis. We're putting people in houses, existing
Existing houses, yeah.
Mhm.
Keeping people in their
Faster
homes.
than, building an affordable housing unit would take.
Yeah,
We don't have those numbers, but,
Yeah,
and we never will.
yeah,
But we do have, we had 16 matches that benefited 41 people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because every match is, well, some of them are couples own the home, sometimes there's 2 people or 3 people in a whole home. And we include the children of elders who have been involved in the process because they're involved in the agreement. They're so closely tied in that they're really involved, and they can go home at night and relax. Because
yes,
someone's living in the house and they can call up and say, "Would you check the food in the refrigerator to make sure it's not all moldy?" And did my mother take her pills yesterday? And yeah, it's just,
yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah. That would
All of
be
that.
so cool.
okay.
And it's getting more traction in terms of national press.
Yeah.
This HomeShare is really
Getting out there.
starting to get on people's radar a bit more than even just a few years ago.
Yeah,
Right?
TV and newspapers and
Mhm.
profiles, so, we make our own model, and each community, as with every program Kathy does, each community sort of defines what the services are and what the profile is, so we'll look forward to working with you to figure that out here.
Yes,
Step
awesome.
one.
We started. Here, we're doing it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Any other questions? I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it all makes sense. I have my own personal curiosities, but that doesn't have to be here.
Happy to answer.
Yeah, so I know all the information,
Yeah, sure.
but,
Yeah, I think a lot of other questions I have would be answered just by doing the process,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
all the what ifs and.
We have a
But
ChatGPT
that's why
page.
an information session might be good too, because
Yeah, for sure.
people will have questions.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so, next steps, I'll share that demographic data with you all, they'll share some more materials with me, so I can create like a mock-up of like a new Paltz specific, interest thing, instead of it being a survey, just because
Whatever you want to
there's
call it.
no way we'll.
Yeah.
Survey becomes somehow so controversial every time I'm, that's why I'm like, yeah, So we can do a interest sign up and
Yes.
sharing of information that you are
Yes.
willingly comfortable to share.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we can get that out, but
that's really what it serves for.
yeah, exactly. Because it was such a struggle to get all that data that I did, I'm like, we gotta pick our fights here. So I'll later base that off of that, we're in touch all the time, and now we know each other, so let's do it, and then work towards picking a date for a full info session in September.
Great,
Yeah,
good, okay.
I'm
Yeah,
excited, thank you.
Thanks.